How would you like to know how to beat the narcissist at their own game at long last? That is what I'm covering today. Let's dive in. Hey friends, welcome to my channel. If it's your first time here, my name is Tamie M. Joyce. I'm the founder of Tamie M Coaching, and I run a powerful 8-week transformational coaching program called the Freedom Class, specific to healing and recovery from codependency and narcissistic abuse. If that's of interest to you, be sure to stick around till the end of the video, and I'll tell you how you can learn more about my programs. So let's talk about 10 ways to beat the narcissist at their own game. Number 1, change your expectations. You can save yourself a lot of unnecessary pain, frustration, and confusion simply by adjusting your expectations to be more realistic and more in alignment with who and what it is you're actually dealing with. In other words, don't expect a sick person to behave like a healthy, well-adjusted, reasonable person. And don't expect a bitter, resentful, and malevolent person to behave like a decent, kind, and loving human being. It's not going to happen. Not consistently anyway. Instead, if you know you're dealing with someone who is empathy impaired, if not lacking in conscience entirely, you know from personal experience they're manipulative and deceptive, then tell yourself the truth about who they are based on your personal experience. You know what you live on repeat. You can trust that. People always show us who they are. Our job is to pay attention and tell ourselves the truth. So, if you're dealing with a deeply unconscious and insecure person with an overinflated ego, someone who feels entitled to hurt you and then blames you, don't lie to yourself about that. Don't set yourself up for more anger, frustration, confusion, disappointment, and a whole world of pain. Instead, tell yourself the truth about who and what it is you're actually dealing with so you can take care of and protect yourself. If we want to be well, truly happy, joyous, and free, living our best and most productive lives, enjoying ourselves along the way, which, by the way, is your God-given birthright, if we ever want to get out of survival, stop playing small, and actually thrive, then our job is to get to the place where we can discern that a thing is a thing. Discern exactly who and what it is that we're dealing with and adjust our expectations accordingly so we can take good care of ourselves. And that begins with being dirt honest with ourselves and, where appropriate, others. Number 2, stop reacting. That's right. If you want to beat the narcissist at their own game, you are going to have to find a way to stop being so easily triggered. Stop being so highly reactive. Decide from this moment forward, to the best of my ability, I will no longer participate and willingly hand over my vital life force energy to a toxic bully or emotional manipulator, whatever the case may be. Choose, decide from this moment forward to respond versus react, or better yet, not respond at all if possible. And I know from experience, pre-healing and recovery, this can be very difficult to do, especially for those of us who come from seriously dysfunctional families. Until we get some real healing and recovery under our belt, we, more often than not, live in fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, operating from a completely dysregulated nervous system and don't even realize it because it has always been our norm. We've quite literally been programmed to be highly reactive from a very early age. So I get that saying choose or simply decide to stop reacting is a whole lot easier said than done. Again, especially pre-healing and recovery. But it's a vital piece of the puzzle if you want to learn how to beat the narcissist at their own game. So find a way, starting today. Simply require more of yourself. And know this, if you want to get really, really good at non-reactivity and owning your personal power in terms of your ability to choose and decide, if and when you will respond, if and when you will engage at all? Well, this requires some real healing and recovery. Not just time and distance, but actual personal work. The truth is, we are highly reactive, not just because of how they show up, but more importantly, because of what we carry in terms of unresolved healing, wounding, and trauma. Until we look at and shine a light, the light of our conscious awareness, onto that stuff, we will continue to react like a puppet on strings. And how's that working for you? I'm guessing, from my own personal experience, not well. Here's the thing. If you want to beat the narcissist at their own game for real, learning the art of non-reactivity while you heal, well, what you're doing is taking your power back, becoming stronger, wiser, more clear, grounded, confident, and peaceful by the day, more and more sovereign by the day. And ultimately, you'll feel completely bulletproof. The narcissist can't mess with you when you're in that place. I promise you, it's worth doing the work. Number 3, leave your ego out of it. Now, this takes mustering up some serious humility for sure. Not always easy, I know. It takes high self-esteem, it takes strength, it takes wisdom, and it takes courage. The courage to choose you and what's best for your mental health. And when you get to the place where you can do this, leave your ego out of it, let me tell you, you are the one with the power in the dynamic. Now, to be clear, when I say leave your ego out of it and mustering up some serious humility, this does not mean that we roll over and play doormat. Not at all. What it means is we choose. Like I said earlier, we decide whether or not we're even going to respond or engage at all. We don't react like a wounded child to their provocations. We don't need to have the last word. We don't need to win the right fight. We can leave our ego out of it and stand sovereign in our personal power without handing over our vital life force energy and rolling around in the mud with someone who really enjoys rolling around in the mud. We don't go there. We don't allow them to drag us down to their level. When we're able to leave our ego out of it and we have no need or desire to win the right fight, we actually have the last word anyway. Again, I promise you, we are beating the narcissist at their own game by virtue of not playing, not engaging, not allowing our wounded ego to run the show. In fact, we're now playing a game that they can't even begin to understand. It's the game of personal power, emotional intelligence, freedom, and like I said, sovereignty. And that is how we win. Next is number 4. If you want to beat the narcissist at their own game, practice using the gray rock method. And if you'd like to learn the specifics of how to use the gray rock method, you can watch this video here. Suffice to say, it boils down to you behaving like, literally becoming, like a gray rock. You want to become as uninteresting and uninterested as humanly possible. Becoming a gray rock in the dynamic with the narcissist is very powerful, and it's an effective way to accomplish a couple of things. First of all, you're no longer giving your power away, which of course is good. Moreover, the narcissist will be starved of narcissistic supply. Now, the truth is, when we start using the gray rock method and suddenly we're not reacting, we're not engaging, we are very uninteresting and couldn't be the least bit interested, and we're no longer grade A source of narcissistic supply, it is quite likely that things will get worse initially before they get better. But know that that is temporary. When you stop reacting and feeding them with your high voltage emotional reactivity and all of the attention they're used to getting from you, the narcissist will initially intensify their tactics in an attempt to get a rise out of you. What they're really after is siphoning your vital life force energy, just like an energy vampire. In fact, that's exactly what they are. And they do this by provoking you. They want your emotional reaction, your intense high voltage emotional response. So know in advance that when you go gray rock, they'll likely turn up the volume. But if you remain consistent, reliable, and predictable in your gray rocking, in other words, you're sending a clear message that says on repeat that I refuse to play, I am not at all interested, and neither am I very interesting, there's nothing of much interest going on over here. What happens is you become no fun at all to play with, to poke, provoke, or prod, to target. So they'll soon realize they can't get their fix or hit from you. And eventually they have to go somewhere else to get their sick needs met, their need for narcissistic supply. It becomes clear at a certain point they're not getting it from you anymore. And that is how you really start to beat a narcissist at their own game. Next, number 5, ignore them entirely. When all else fails, this can be very powerful. Many years ago, I came across a quote that I love, and it stuck with me all these years. Until you can ignore ignorance, neglect negativity, and disregard disrespect, you are not ready for the next level. Success is not for the weak. I love that quote. And the truth is, when your definition of success includes no longer being emotionally and psychologically battered around by the destructive narcissist in your life, then it's high time that you practice ignoring ignorance, neglecting negativity, and disregarding disrespect. There is a lot of personal power and emotional intelligence in choosing that mindset and acting accordingly. Now, comment below and let me know whether or not you think any of these techniques will be helpful for you. And if so, which one are you going to start with? Also, if you know you have some healing and recovery work to do, and you'd like to learn more about the possibility of working with me in my 8-week transformational coaching program, the Freedom Class, there is a link in the description below this video where you can apply to see if you qualify for a free one-on-one consultation with either myself or a member of my team. Number 6, don't take anything personally. That's right. Whatever you do, do not take anything the narcissist says or does personally. And again, I know this is way easier said than done because a lot of what they do and say feels really, really personal, especially when the person we're talking about is your spouse or a parent or a sibling. Naturally, it feels personal. But believe it or not, it's not personal. Believe it or not, it's actually not your stuff. How they think, how they feel, what they say, and how they behave is not yours to own. What's going on with them is not your fault, and it certainly is not your responsibility. You didn't cause it, you can't control it, and you definitely cannot cure it. For real. You will never put a dent in what's going on with a person with a destructive narcissist personality pattern. So it's time now to practice detachment and stop taking the narcissist so personally. Except, of course, what's being triggered inside of you. Now that, my friend, is personal. But how they think, how they feel, what they say, and how they behave, that is not your stuff. What is your stuff, however, what you do need to take personally, however, is what's going on within you. Especially the stuff that is so easily triggered, so deeply affected by the narcissist and their antics. Again, that's your stuff. What's going on inside of you. That is very much about you. Very much about the work that you still have to do. It's very much about the stuff that you need to look at for you, nobody else, for you. If you want anything to change for real and for good, again, for you. We have to look at our own internal reality, our own internal landscape. We have to be willing to take radical responsibility for our own triggers and unresolved issues. And the truth is, until we do, these issues, left untreated, only get worse, never better over time. So You can kick their ass to the curb, drop them like a hot rock, divorce them, leave them, walk away, establish and maintain no contact, all of which may be a very good idea for sure. But if you don't actually deal with what's going on inside of you that is so deeply affected and so easily triggered by empathy impaired emotional manipulators and toxic bullies, you're only going to continue to attract more of the same until something changes inside of you. That's right. Until something changes inside of you, not much is going to change around you. True story. Number 7, if you want to beat a narcissist at their own game, you are going to have to learn to focus on yourself entirely. Now, obviously, those of you who are parents also have children to focus on. I get that. We have homes to run and careers to manage and maybe even aging parents to take care of, along with all the stuff that we have to focus on for sure. But if you're dirt honest with yourself, you might have to admit that you often spend a lot of time and energy focused on people, places, and things that are fundamentally not your responsibility. Meanwhile, you're neglecting yourself and what would move you and your life forward in the best possible direction, the direction you really want it to go. So I'm here to give you permission if you need that. No matter your circumstances, no matter how much responsibility you feel, you have to carve out time to focus on you, your happiness, your well-being, your healing and recovery. What makes you tick? What's your bliss about? Focus on becoming the best possible version of yourself, one moment, one step, one day at a time. Focus on creating your best life and then get really, really busy living your best life as the best version of you to the best of your ability and keep going on that track, in that direction. Take back all of your time, energy, and attention, all of your resources, all of that vital life force energy that is being directed toward the energy vampire, the emotional manipulator, and or the toxic bully or bullies in your life, whatever the case may be. Take it back and pour it into you. Focus on you, your happiness, your well-being, becoming personally empowered, sovereign, and free. This is how we really begin to beat the narcissist at their own game, for real. Number 8, do the work to uncover the subconscious magnetic relationship pattern that is at play in the relationship dynamic with the narcissist. Be willing to do the work for yourself. If you don't, no one's going to do it for you. And I promise you, if you don't do this work for yourself, nothing is going to change for you, my friend. No matter who you divorce, who you run away from, and who you go no contact with. We have to figure out what the subconscious pattern is that is playing out in the dynamic that we're involved in. We're involved in it, right? And sometimes on repeat. So what's going on with us? That's what we need to look at. And if we don't, we just keep repeating the pattern. So if we want things to change for us permanently, for the better, we have to be willing to do that work. Some really great questions to ask yourself is, where have I had this experience before? Where have I felt this feeling or these feelings before? With who? Who does this person remind me of? What does this experience remind me of? In particular, is there a match to anything that I lived with regards to my original family of origin wounding and trauma? Is there some wound that I'm carrying subconsciously? Or are there multiple wounds? It's important to know that our unresolved wounds are magnetic in nature and they tend to attract, subconsciously, we're not doing this consciously, but they attract, call into our lives what is an emotional, energetic, and vibrational match to the original family of origin wounding and trauma. And it's also important to know that until you become willing to do the work to uncover this subconscious pattern that is playing out in your life, until you do that deep dive excavation work, which can sound daunting when we haven't done the work for sure, but I promise you, it's not as terribly scary as some of you may fear. But when we do this kind of work, the deep dive healing and recovery work to help us uncover the subconscious patterns that are at play, that are playing out in your relationship dynamics, asking yourself the right questions, up-leveling and making conscious contact with the old wounding and trauma so you can heal that stuff and be free of it permanently, once and for all, free permanently, you truly do beat the narcissist at their own game. Why? Well, because you shift for real and in a big way. And suddenly you find that you're vibrating at a whole other level. And because of that, you're no longer a match to painful people who feel entitled to hurt you. They literally vibrate right out of your life as you grow and evolve to the next level. It's a beautiful thing. Number 9, create an exit plan and keep it to yourself. If you haven't done so already, start working on an exit plan for yourself. Like your life depends on it, because the truth is it does. At the very least, the quality of your life depends on it. This is your life we're talking about. So no matter how long you think it may take you, no matter how impossible it may seem right now, you can start working privately in the privacy of your own mind and heart. Privately, you can start working on an exit plan, maybe on socking away money, slowly but surely, setting yourself up somehow, making the right contacts and connections, doing whatever you need to do to ultimately be able to extricate yourself from the dynamic. And last but not least, number 10, in the meantime, document everything. And I mean everything. You've got to be smarter than they are, cagier than they are, sharper than they are, a few steps ahead of them. And stay there. And don't boast or brag about that. Keep that to yourself. All too often, our tendency is to lean towards full disclosure, especially in the heat of the moment. Meanwhile, we're giving them all kinds of ammunition and information that they will later use against us. Information they'll use to continue to hold you hostage in whatever dynamic that you may be held hostage in. So, document everything, every text, every voicemail, every email. Keep a journal with exact dates and timestamps. Don't rely on your memory. Actually keep a record of everything you can. If possible and necessary, use cameras and recording devices, record conversations. Go as far as you need to document whatever you can. The truth is you may never need any of this, but if the day comes that you do, you'll sure be glad that you have it, that you took the time to take good care of yourself. Document all of it. And with that, I'm going to call it a wrap. But don't stop now. I have well over 300 more videos right here on YouTube for you to watch to help you better understand the detrimental effects of narcissistic abuse and, more importantly, learn what you need to do now to heal from the abuse so you can start living your best life in peace, confidence, freedom, and abundance. And if you want to go deeper with me, go to TamieMCoaching.com and learn about my unique tried and true process garnered over decades of experience and learn how you can become my client.